Welcome to the shadowy forests of Maine, a place where the whispers of legends and the creak of ancient trees have given rise to chilling tales. In this video, we're delving deep into the heart of Maine's folklore to uncover 5 of the most spine-tingling humanoids lurking in its wilderness. From the frozen breath of the Windigo to the uncanny stare of the pale crawlers, these creatures blur the lines between myth and reality. Their stories have haunted locals for centuries, warning of dangers both physical and existential. We'll explore chilling encounters, unsettling details, and the dark origins of each entity. But be warned, this isn't just a journey through folklore. It's an exploration of fear itself, a trip through Maine's deepest woods where the shadows hide far more than you'd ever expect. So light your lantern, keep your nerves steady, and let's step into the unknown. There's an uneasy stillness to Maine's wilderness at night. A heavy silence interrupted only by the distant snap of a branch or the guttural cry of some unseen creature. It's in this quiet menace that Bigfoot's legend thrives, a looming presence whispered about in hushed tones around campfires and passed down as warnings to those who dare stray too far into the woods. The Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization has documented 19 sightings since 1970. Scattered across 9 counties, but these aren't just stories. They're snapshots of something lurking just beyond the reach of light, where even the bravest feel their nerve unravel. One of the most harrowing encounters occurred in Aroostook County during a violent storm in 2023. Wind howling, rain slashing through the trees, and lightning casting fleeting glimpses of the chaos outside. A farmer drawn to investigate the uneasy clamor of his chicken coop froze as he spotted a figure. A staggering 9 feet tall, its body soaked but unmistakably immense. The storm seemed to bend around it, the furious elements unable to swallow its overwhelming presence. And just like that, it was gone, swallowed by the woods, leaving behind nothing but drenched footprints and a hollow fear that lingers to this day. Oxford County tells a similarly grim tale. In 2022, a lone hunter ventured into the woods far from the hum of civilization. He would return with trembling hands and a story that chilled the marrow of his bones. He described an unearthly figure, covered in a tangle of dark fur, moving with a terrifying purpose between the trees. It didn't run, it didn't hide, it simply disappeared, as if the forest itself had welcomed it home. For believers, Bigfoot isn't just an elusive creature. He's a watcher, an entity bound to Maine's darkest, most remote places. Its mere existence challenges the arrogance of those who think the wilderness is there to tame. The dense primeval forests of Maine seem to conspire with Bigfoot, guarding its secrets and taunting those who seek them. For skeptics, it's all just campfire fodder. But ask anyone who has crossed paths with the unknown in these woods, and they'll tell you, there are places in Maine where the trees feel like they're watching, and you'll never feel quite alone again. Deep within the annals of Maine's logging history lurks Razorshins, a cryptid whose legend slices through the state's folklore like the chilling winds that rattle the treetops. Stories of this shadowy entity are woven tightly into the timber industry of the 19th century, a time when the wilderness was unforgiving and the line between survival and destruction razor thin, much like the figure at the heart of these chilling tales. Razorshins is often described as a hulking lumberjack-like specter with jagged, gleaming bones jutting from his legs. A deadly weapon said to fell trees or slice through flesh with unnerving precision. His presence is thought to embody both the raw power and peril of the logging industry, where workers faced both the harshness of nature and the spectral grip of superstition. To some, Razorshins was a protector of the woods, exacting vengeance on those who disrespected the forest's ancient spirit. To others, he was a harbinger of doom, a supernatural force born to remind man of its frailty. Accounts of Razorshins are varied and unnervingly vivid. Loggers spoke of trees falling unnaturally fast during the darkest hours of the night, as if sliced by an unseen force, an omen the entity was near. Others claimed to have heard whispers carried on the wind, low and guttural, when they strayed too far from the campfires that felt increasingly like fragile shields against the woods. Some even dared to recount sightings, the glint of moonlight catching the jagged edges of his spectral limbs, his figure hunched with an unnatural gait before vanishing into the shadows. The legend also tells of Razorshin's origins. Tied to the brutal conditions of Maine's early logging camps, it's said he was once a logger himself, a man who met a grisly end in an accident that left his legs shattered. Refusing to succumb to death, he fashioned his broken bones into razor-sharp tools, vowing vengeance on those who exploited the forest and its workers. His transformation from man to cryptid is whispered as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of greed and the unforgiving nature of the wilderness. But Razorshins wasn't always an enemy. Loggers believed that leaving offerings, particularly alcohol, could appease him. A bottle of whiskey or rum left at the edge of a camp was said to keep Razorshins at bay, and in some stories even earn its favor. Those who honored this grim tradition claimed to find their work mysteriously aided. Trees felled faster, equipment untouched by the usual wear and tear, and an eerie sense of protection in the otherwise hostile woods. However, those who failed to leave an offering, or worse, mocked the ritual, often found themselves the target of Razorshin's wrath. Equipment would break inexplicably, trees would fall in dangerous directions, and some loggers swore they felt unseen eyes watching them, waiting for the moment to strike. For those who dared to tempt fate, Razorshin's punishment was said to be swift and brutal. Loggers caught without an offering were often found bloodied and broken, their bodies bearing deep, jagged wounds as if carved by the very razors that gave the legend his name. Some were dragged into the woods, their screams swallowed by the dense canopy, never to be seen again. Others were left alive but haunted, scarred not just physically but mentally, their minds unraveling as they recounted the chilling sight of Razorshins towering over them, his jagged limbs glinting in the moonlight. The forest itself seemed to conspire with him, its shadows twisting and closing in, ensuring no escape for those who had earned his ire. And then there were the scalps. Razorshins was said to mark his most defiant victims with a gruesome signature, stripping the scalp clean from their heads with the precision of his razor-like bones. The act wasn't just a punishment. It was a warning. A grotesque reminder to others that the forest was his domain. Survivors of such encounters, if there were any, were left broken in body and spirit, their scalped heads a testament to the cryptid's wrath. For those who vanished entirely, whispers claim Razorshins kept their scalp as trophies, hidden deep within the woods where no man dare tread. In many ways, the legend of Razorshins reflects the rugged and mysterious nature of Maine itself. Its boundless wilderness, coupled with the towering dominance of the timber industry, lends an eerie plausibility to the idea of such a creature lurking in the dark. For those who dare tread too far into the woods, his tale serves as both a warning and a reminder. The forest is alive, and not all who walk it will walk out again. Maine's wilderness has always carried an air of mystery, but there are tales that scratch at something deeper, something primal. Stories of the pale crawlers hint at beings not merely strange, but fundamentally wrong. These creatures don't just haunt the forest, they seem to warp reality itself, teasing at the edge of familiarity but slipping into the grotesque. With their thin, spindly limbs, skin taut and pale as if drained of all life, and movements that mock the rhythm of the natural world, the pale crawlers inhabit a category of terror that defies classification. It begins with the eyes. Glowing orange or yellow, fixed and unblinking, too intelligent to be in animals yet devoid of human warmth. Witnesses often describe feeling watched long before they spot the creature. The air grows heavy, sounds from the forest fade, and a paralyzing awareness sets in, as though they've stumbled into a space where the laws of nature falter. The pale crawlers don't rush their victims. Instead, they linger. One harrowing account from rural Maine paints a picture of the slow, deliberate horror. A smoker stepping onto his porch in the early hours of the morning saw those glowing eyes watching him from the tree line. What came next didn't follow the script of the natural world. The creature, over 6 feet tall even while crouched, moved deliberately, its elongated limbs bending in ways that seemed to defy joints or bones. As it peeked from behind a tree, its movements were almost playful, like a predator curious about its prey. Yet it didn't advance, it lingered just long enough to be seen and then retreated, slipping back into the shadows with an unsettling smoothness as if the darkness welcomed it. The witness said that silence it left in its wake was worse than its presence, a void that swallowed the world until even his own breath felt loud. Central Maine's woods were the setting for another eerie sighting in 2016. A man walking barefoot to his home described hearing a sound he couldn't place, a rhythmic crunch of leaves that mimicked footsteps but was somehow offbeat, staggered, as though mocking the act of walking. When he finally turned, his eyes met something that defied reason. The pale crawler stood there, its lithe frame unnervingly upright, its skin so pallid it seemed luminous against the pitch-black backdrop. Its face didn't leap out with monstrous deformities. Instead, it was human enough. A vaguely sunken visage with hollowed features that seemed to watch without really looking. And yet, that was the terror, wasn't it? That uncanny balance between familiarity and utter wrongness. His body froze, not from fear of attack, but from an overwhelming sense of displacement. Like his presence in its gaze disrupted some delicate, unseen balance. Then there's the encounter on Mount Desert Island, where a couple saw one of these creatures emerge from the woods as they drove late at night. At first it crawled, its limbs crab-like and grotesque, bending in ways no human body should bend. Then it rose. The motion wasn't abrupt but fluid, its frame stretching unnaturally as if it didn't exist entirely in this dimension. Yellow eyes caught the moonlight just long enough for their pupils to glint, but it wasn't the swiftness with which it disappeared into the trees that chilled them. It was the way it seemed to blend into the darkness, as though it was the shadow rather than merely a part of it. Each of these stories carries a thread of the uncanny, a thing almost known but resolutely alien. Witnesses don't describe being chased or touched or attacked. Instead, it's the presence of the pale crawlers that haunts them, a presence that feels invasive and too aware. It's the way these beings linger, the way their movements stretch and warp human perception, leaving those who see them questioning the very fabric of their reality. No one knows where they come from or what they want. Are they remnants of some forgotten species long hidden in the untouched depths of Maine's forests, or do they slip into our world from somewhere else entirely, wearing the guise of something humanoid but never truly hiding the alien terror underneath? Their glowing eyes, their impossible anatomy, their mockery of human posture and behavior, they hint at something deeper. A horror not of violence, but of understanding. Maine's vast, untamed wilderness holds many secrets, but none leave a scar on the mind like the pale crawlers do. For those who encounter them, it's not just the sight of these creatures that haunts their dreams, it's the realization that we do not belong in the shadows they call home. The Windigo is not merely a legend. It is a manifestation of humanity's darkest fears, a specter born from the harshest winters and the most desperate corners of the human soul. Rooted in Algonquin folklore, this malevolent spirit has long haunted the northern wilderness, including the shadowy forests of Maine. Its legend is a chilling reminder of the perils of greed, gluttony, and survival at any cost. The Windigo is described as a gaunt, skeletal figure, its ash-gray skin stretched tightly over an emaciated frame that seems barely able to contain its monstrous hunger. Its sunken, glowing eyes burn with an unnatural light, and its sharp claws glint like the edges of frostbitten branches. Some accounts claim it towers as a giant, its heart encased in ice, radiating an unseasonable chill that freezes the air around it. Wherever it roams, a foul stench of decay lingers, a harbinger of the horror it imparts. This creature's hunger is insatiable, a bottomless void that drives it to prey on human flesh. But the Windigo's terror lies not just in its appetite, but in its ability to corrupt. It is said to lure its victims with an eerie mimicry of human voices, calling out from the shadows in tones that echo loved ones or friends. Those who succumb to desperation and vices, especially in times of famine, risk more than death. The legend tells of a chilling transformation. Those who resort to cannibalism in their darkest moments are cursed to become Windigos themselves, their humanity stripped away as they are consumed by the very hunger they sought to escape. In Maine, the Windigo's legend takes on a uniquely local flavor. Folklore warns that crossing the tracks of a Windigo invites its curse, a fate as inescapable as the creature's hunger. The state's remote wilderness and brutal winters provide the perfect stage for such a haunting figure. Tales of unexplained howls echoing through the woods, skeletal figures glimpsed in the shadows, and mysterious disappearances have all been attributed to the Windigo's presence. These stories are not just warnings, they are reminders of the fragility of the human spirit when faced with isolation and despair. For Native American tribes, the Windigo is more than a monster. It is a cautionary tale. It embodies the dangers of selfishness, moral decay, and the loss of community in the face of hardship. This legend even gave rise to the concept of Windigo psychosis, a culture-bound syndrome marked by an intense craving for human flesh and a haunting fear of becoming a cannibal. The Windigo is not just a creature of the woods, it is a reflection of the darkness that takes root in the human heart. While the Windigo is most closely associated with the Great Lakes region in Canada, its whispers have reached Maine, where the untamed wilderness amplifies its chilling lore. The Windigo is not just a story, it is a specter that lingers in the collective consciousness, a timeless warning wrapped in the guise of a cryptid. For those who dare to explore Maine's forests, the Windigo is a reminder that some hungers can never be satisfied, and some shadows are best left undisturbed. In the dark recesses of Maine's Native American folklore lies the Kiwakwa, a giant of chilling proportions and even colder intentions. Known among the Wabanaki tribes as both the Chinoo and the Potomkin, this creature looms as a predator shaped by desperation and punishment. With its monstrous appetite for human flesh and its ice-bound heart, the Kiwakwa serves as a cautionary figure, forever wandering the shadows of the woods, a stark reminder of the human struggle to survive against the harsh wilderness. Legend says the Kiwakwa was not born a monster. It became one. Once human, its transformation was its curse for crossing the ultimate moral line, turning to cannibalism or selfishly hoarding aid from the suffering. Stripped of its humanity, it grew into a towering specter of hunger and cold. Its skeletal frame, cloaked in ash-colored skin and fur, it is a creature born of hate and malice. An otherworldly chill, sharp and biting, precedes it, as though the air itself recoils from its presence. Its heart, often described as a literal chunk of ice, doesn't merely fuel its existence, it embodies it. The Kiwakwa's very being is tied to the winter's cruelty, its frozen core radiating a coldness that leaves frost lingering on the forest floor long after its departure. Its frigid breath snuffs out the warmth of life, ensuring nothing survives in its shadow for long. But perhaps its most unnerving trait is its ability to camouflage itself, a predator born from the wild. Legend says the Kiwakwa uses pine resin to coat its massive body, rolling in leaf litter until it resembles a grotesque parody of the trees around it. To the untrained eye, it is just another figure in the forest, one you might pass by without a second glance. Until it moves. And when it moves, its steps are thunderous, its shrieks deadly. The Wabanaki people speak of its piercing cry, so unearthly and violent it's said to stop hearts outright, sending those unlucky enough to hear it into the void. Interestingly, not all tales paint the Kiwakwa as purely a harbinger of death. In rare accounts, individuals brave or desperate enough to confront it have been able to pierce through the monster's icy core. These stories tell of redemption, of a Kiwakwa that can be freed from its curse through acts of extraordinary courage and compassion. Yet even in such rare victories, the cost is often high, with few survivors left to tell the tale. The Kiwakwa isn't just a monster. It's an existential force, an embodiment of hunger and cold, and a specter of choices taken too far. For those who brave the depths of Maine's untouched forest, the stories warn of far more than physical danger. They speak of icy breath on the back of your neck, of the lifeless shadows shifting among the trees, and of primal knowledge that some things out there are far colder, far hungrier than the winter itself. Maine's forests have always held mysteries, ancient, untamed, and deeply unsettling. From the relentless hunger of the Windigo to the spectral presence of the pale crawlers, these humanoid legends remind us that the wilderness isn't just beautiful. It's humbling, powerful, and sometimes terrifying. Whether these creatures are born from myth or something far more real, they capture the human imagination, warning us to tread carefully into the unknown. As you venture into Maine's folklore, remember, every shadow, every unexplained sound, and every chilling breeze might carry a story. These woods are alive with more than wildlife. They pulse with the echoes of fear, survival, and the unexplainable. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Maine's darkest corners. Be sure to share your thoughts, subscribe, and brace yourself for more tales that bring nightmares to life. I'm the Reverend Redbeard for Acadia After Dark. Until next time, keep your lantern lit, stay safe.